I want to keep people in the dark.
Bunny, that day Rajkumar said no, that we have that light thing which I ordered. He gave us the link.
Yeah. Yeah. Misha, I think you're breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
Srini, we can start.
Okay, right. You want to change the screen or?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, good afternoon, and warm welcome to the launch of HYSIA's latest and probably what will soon become the most prominent forum, the Women Leaders Forum. This is in addition to what we already have: Industry Academia Forum, Innovation, CSR, Infrastructure, and SME focused forum. And there can't be a better addition to the forums. Each forum, as you can see, is very clearly spells out what the focus area for HYSIA has been. And it's not that women and women leadership is not a focus area. It has been a focus area in some way. More than a decade ago, the leadership development program that we have, thanks to Nari, we have him on the panel here. We dedicated some parts of that leadership program to completely women leaders. So we can proudly say over the years, we would have nurtured a few hundred women leaders, mid-level women leaders. But this forum is a completely new and unique initiative, And today you will go through the launch program. I don't want to get into that detail. But what better way to precede the launch or on the occasion of the launch to have a very relevant panel discussion by some very relevant leaders who know a thing or two about leadership and women in leadership on precisely that topic, women in leadership. So as soon as I'm done, we will have that discussion going. And I want to thank Mamta Madhireddy, who is the Center Director and Center Head for the HSBC, not only Hyderabad, Vizag, Chennai, Kolkata locations. And she has very graciously agreed to lead this forum as the inaugural leader and set its course and vision. So we will hear from her too. We know that in the society we live, not only in our society, Western societies, men typically have that starting advantage over women, right? Whether we like it or not, there is a physical strength aspect, there is an upbringing, there is a cultural support systems, mindsets. But the industry to which we belong, the knowledge industry, where the intellect or the brain power is the driving force, at least in this industry, it should be a level playing field, right? That's what we would intuitively believe. But the result or what we see on the ground is counterintuitive. That's not true, right? While in Hyderabad itself and even overall at a global level, at entry levels, we see 40% gender equality, and in many cases in good progressive companies, 50% gender equality. As one climbs up the ladder, we see at mid-level and senior level, that ratio falling down to 15, 16%. And at the absolute top, it's, single digits, 5 or 6%. A lot of things have been done to change this situation. A lot of countries, starting with Norway, which has set a 40% target at board level and eventually met it, have done a lot of things. India has also done something to start from the top at board level to bring gender inclusivity, I think sometime around 2012, 2013. And today, except some 3-4%, most of the listed companies at board level have at least one woman director. That's a good start. And I think in India, it's even better because most of these are independent directors. And some of them, about 14-15% of the companies even have 2 directors, not just where the requirement is just 1, they have 2. But if you notice carefully, many of these women directors, while theoretically they sit on the board, are not appointed to the key committees of the board. Whether you take compensation committee, audit committee. So what does it mean again? You peel the layers and see. It's again that same inequality that is coming into picture. That means they are in the board, but they are not part of the very key and vital decision making. So what I'm getting to is, end of the day, regulators or associations like HYSIA or your own organizations can all, become enablers, can try to create some level playing field, can pass some regulations. But end of the day, my personal belief is that change, or that, the desire to break that ceiling, come to the top, I think should come from within. But that's easier said than done. There are, issue of support systems. There are issues of attitude changes, where I have seen among some very successful women leaders, from the conventionally understood soft mindset, I've seen these women leaders become very aggressive. And I felt, that is perfectly okay. Because the pendulum, when it swings, before it settles down to an equilibrium, it swings to an extreme. And that, to my, perfectly fine. I think that should be the journey. And my sincere hope is this forum will act like a true enabler, create programs, courses, mentorships, whatever it is, under Mamta's leadership, to help many women leaders in our Hyderabad ecosystem to, make progress in the journey and get there. So without wasting further time, I would like to invite next Mamta to come over and start the afternoon's proceedings and get the panel discussion going. After that, the Honorable Governor will join us to launch the actual forum. So over to you, Mamta. Warm welcome to all again. Yeah.
Thank you, Srini. You have set the right context for the rest of the program. Today's panel discussion on women in leadership feature highly accomplished individuals, and it is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Mamta Madhireddy, Center Director, GSE Hyderabad, Chennai, Kolkata, Vizag of HSBC, who will be moderating the session today. Mamta comes with 25 years of experience across banking and financial services industries. In her 20 years with HSBC, Mamta has done varied roles across diverse domains. She is also a member of NASSCOM Telangana Regional Council and a frequent speaker at various forums and roundtable discussions on diversity and inclusion, well-being, future of banking, and more. An inclusive leader, Mamta is the sponsor of many diversity initiatives in GSEs and mentors many women. She is also the champion of corporate sustainability for HSBC Global Services Centers. Mamta is also the honorary board member of United Way of Hyderabad. And she's also an acclaimed Indian classical dancer, having represented the country at various international festivals. Over to you, Mamta.
Thank you, Neerija, for the wonderful introduction, and good afternoon all, and welcome to today's session. I think it's an absolute honor for me to lead the HYSIA Women Leaders Forum, and a big responsibility as well. So I'm looking forward to collaborating with many leaders across the industry to collectively make a positive impact to the extremely important agenda. So I'll exercise my privilege as the moderator to just set up the context, and then we will move on to our panelists who come with extremely diverse, extremely rich experience to share their thoughts and experiences. So women in leadership. I think we all resonate with this, if not at least familiar with today's panel discussion topic. And Srini has mentioned this, but I think history has highlighted that women have faced greater barriers than men when it comes to fully participating in the economy. Across geographies, across income levels, disparities between men and women persist in the form of uneven opportunities for advancement, pay gaps, and unbalanced representation in important decision-making. And this is not just in the corporate world, right? We also see this across fields, be it in sports, entertainment. And then to add to this, we also had the pandemic that hit us last year. So the pandemic caused uncertainty. So what organizations decide to do today can have an impact on gender equality in the near future. This also, according to me, presents an opportunity to nurture a culture in which women have equal opportunity to achieve their potential over the long term. So all of us are aware that we have to bridge that gender gap and work towards an inclusive and a balanced workforce. A study from McKinsey & Company, which analyzed about 1,000 organizations worldwide, proved that organizations with greater gender balance in the senior management tend to have higher profits and long-term value as well. And there's a lot of research that that states and proves, these facts. So a lot has happened in this space, and a lot is continuing to happen even as we have this conversation today. But there is a lot more to be done. So what are the barriers? How do we break these barriers? How do we unblock these blockers to accelerate this change and empower women to have equal opportunities at every level, and especially at the CXO levels in organizations? So let's hear from our panel on this. But before we do that, let me introduce our esteemed panel. And as you would see, they all come from diverse backgrounds, very rich backgrounds, and where bringing in balance, bringing in gender equality has been one of their prime agendas in their work career. So the panelists, my pleasure to introduce Mr. Narasimha Rao, or Nari as he's popularly known, the Executive Vice President at Infosys Limited and Head of the Cloud Infrastructure and Security Solutions Service Line, and also the Infosys Validation Solutions Service Line. Nari has been with Infosys for 20+ years and has played leadership roles across various service lines and industry segments. Nari is also on the Delivery Council for Infosys, which provides leadership to the global delivery organization. He is a mentor for the India-based delivery centers at Infosys and is on the DNI Council, driving the agenda for the organization. Now, Nari has been an active member of HYSIA. I think the HYSIA membership doesn't need any, the HYSIA membership organizations don't need any introduction to Nari. He's been in the HYSIA leadership team for 15+ years. He's played various roles in the managing committee, including being the president for HYSIA for the period 2008 to 2010. So welcome, Nari, to the panel. Next is Deepti Verma, HR Leader Corporate, APAC and MENA, Amazon Hyderabad. So Deepti has been with Amazon for the past decade. Prior to Amazon, Deepti was the Director Human Resources with Dr. Reddy Laboratories, heading corporate HR and talent acquisition globally. Over the last 23 years, Deepti has been associated with diverse industries such as e-commerce, IT, pharmaceuticals, and manufacturing industry, and has had significant global exposure to all facets of HR and organizational effectiveness. Deepti is an active member of multiple women leadership forums and is extremely passionate about diversity and inclusion, where she has bootstrapped multiple innovative and scalable initiatives across different organizations. Welcome, Deepti, to the panel.
Thank you, Mamta.
Next, I would like to introduce Shailaja Josula, someone with whom I've worked with extremely closely during her tenure with HSBC. So Shailaja is the Center Head Cognizant, Hyderabad, and Global Delivery SBU Practice Head, BFS Digital Operations, Cognizant Technology Solutions. With over 25 years of experience, Shailaja is considered an expert in leading large operational teams and driving transformational initiatives with diverse experience in manufacturing and financial services industries. In her current role at Cognizant, Shailaja manages banking and financial services, digital operations for global clients. In her previous role, Shailaja was the head of transformation for Thomson Reuters Global Operations Centers based across different countries, where she was responsible for driving automation and process excellence. Prior to that, she was the global head of payment operations at HSBC, where she ensured seamless delivery across multiple countries and regions and large change initiatives. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the esteemed panel that we have, bringing in a rich variety of experience and knowledge. So let me start off the panel discussion. And Nari, being the only male in this forum, I would like to pose the first question to you. So what is your significant personal experience that has influenced your thinking around equality, not just at the workplace, but just in your life?
Thank you, Mamta, and good afternoon to my co-panelists and all the participants. First is Mamta, congratulations for taking this role with HYSIA and helping us build this forum. It's a very important agenda for HYSIA in the industry, and I'm so thankful that you've taken the effort to be part of this and lead this. Now, coming to your question, what has really influenced my thinking? I think it's my personal experience. I think I've lived with 3 women, of course, the 3 generations. I've seen with my mom, who unfortunately had to be widowed very early in life, and I've seen how financial independence can be such a crucial thing for women. So today I'm very passionate about women being financially independent. I've seen with my wife how career women, especially in an on-call 24/7 kind of profession, it's so difficult and managing it not easy at all, and how they need support, and otherwise they really have to go through a lot, really sustain their career. It's not easy to keep going. Lastly, of course, I now have a daughter who started in the IT career last year, and through her, in fact, I visualize what all challenges she's likely to face in the industry. So it's been a personal kind of experience for me as I go through various phases of my life. Also, I've met many women at workplace, of course, in the industry and within Infosys itself. And when I hear their stories, I'm always inspired, and equally I realize that things are different. A lot of times, as men, we don't stop and think that circumstances and the hardships which both genders go through are not the same. And that requires different set of solutions. And in trying to be gender neutral, sometimes we miss the point. So this appreciation that both genders and all genders today need different support systems, I think is the key. But the fact that women need an equal place at the workplace in the society, I think is something which I have learned personally. I've seen women around me who are important in my life go through hardships, and I really want to make sure that the society and industry is a better place every single day.
Nari, thank you. Your voice is probably breaking a bit. You might just want to check the connection at your end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just as we discussed before we started, right? Technology stops working once we get started.
And that's a good sign, Nari, for every event. Yeah. Thank you for your views, Nari. It all starts from home, right? Women equality and the financial independence that you spoke about. Shailja, next question to you, if I may ask, is what gender-specific challenges, stereotypes, or barriers did you face in your career, and how did you deal with it?
So I think, Mamta, I don't think it was a barrier, but yes, there were a lot of stereotypes that came into the picture even before I came into a situation. So a few examples. Right. I come from an engineering background. Given that I've spent a majority of my career in the BPO, most often people assume that I must have done a BA or a commerce, right? And then, oh, you're an engineer? And I'm like, why not? You don't do that to a gentleman. Why do you do that with me? So that is one I have often found. Two, and you know me, I'm not somebody who is a quiet or a soft-spoken person. People just assume that, they can talk over me, or I've seen that, sometimes opportunity to even present a point of view is not there. And you have to kind of interject and say, hey, let me kind of interject. This is what I have to say. Third thing, off late, this is something I'm seeing in the last few years with the focus on D&I. Sometimes, especially when it comes to certain important meetings, invariably, I'll be the only lady in that meeting. This I've been seeing since 2016. In fact, that's one of the things I started seeing in how many of the meetings is there another lady. And I would find that it's less than, say, 5%. So there is an assumption that I'm there because, it's a token of D&I. For D&I, yeah, we have a women leader here. And I think that to me was quite offensive, because I would say, no, I'm there because, I'm a banking expert, or I'm a transformation expert, or, I actually add value to this conversation. It's got nothing to me. To me, the fact that I am a women leader is, it's incidental. That does not define what I bring to work. So that is definitely there. I think another one that I have often seen, we had this very interesting competition. It was a team building exercise. And as with any other leadership team building exercise, we were probably 2 or 3 women, and there were about 15 gentlemen. It was a cookery context. We were put into teams. People just assumed that, they divided the 3 women into the 3 teams, and they just assumed because we are there, we will cook. But shocker, right? Horrible. I don't know how to cook. And it is definitely not an area of interest for me, right? So I've never really pursued it. So people are, oh, you don't know? I said, no, I don't know, right? I'm very good with organizing, cleaning, inventory management. Those are my skills if it comes to a kitchen, definitely not cooking. So that was one. where people said, oh, you don't know, and somebody else had to take over. There was also another incident, and this was where I was learning driving way back in, say, 2003, right? And along with others, there were also men who were learning car driving along with me, right? To the men, he would say, oh, steering gear and let's get started. For me, it would be like, this is the right indicator, this is the left indicator. And I'm like, but I've been driving for like 10 years before that. I've done a two-wheeler driving. I'm just graduating to a four-wheeler. So these are stereotypes which are present, right? And more on the lighter note. But I think it is there. And along with stereotypes, there's also an expectation, right? There's a lot of pressure from the society. You have to conduct yourself this way. You can only say these things. You can only talk about these topics, right? These topics are taboo for women. I think that's been there, but innately, I think being your own self, at least for me, I've always been this way. I'm authentic. I kind of say what comes onto my mind. I don't, necessarily wait for an opportunity or worse permission. That has helped. But I know that those are some of the barriers which are existing. And especially when women come into a particular meeting, I often find that the audience is confused in terms of what to expect, right? As against the professional stuff vis-a-vis the personal stuff. And if we can slightly shift that let's look at this as a professional coming into a meeting. Gender is, one of the attributes of this individual, but the gender doesn't define the individual, right? Their competency defines the individual. I think that is a real mindset shift that we need. And I'm yet to see that in many forums and many meetings.
Thank you. Thank you, Shailaja. And I think the examples that you gave, right? It really starts from home, from the society, that we live in, and not just organizations, right? It continues from how the entire culture and society influences, somebody as they grow up. And interestingly, I think this is a mention of, oh, you're here because you're a woman, and there is a certain statistic of, gender diversity that organizations need to meet, the so-called quota system, if I can say. So on that note, I think this will be an interesting question to Deepti from an HR angle. So what does diversity and inclusion actually look like in workplace from HR, right? The perception that it's a quota, you have to get a certain percentage of women because of the gender, not necessarily because of the caliber. Deepti, from an HR angle, what does D&I actually look like, and how would you define it?
Sure. Firstly, thank you for inviting me here, and I hope all your family members and you all are safe and having good health. I think in these times, it is very important to take care of your own self. Well, to begin with, in simple terms, if I have to define what diversity means to me, is basically welcoming people of all backgrounds. And most organizations should be committed to providing a safe and respectful environment for everyone. Having said that, I feel that a lot of time when we are talking about diversity,
Deepti, we lost your audio.
I think we lost Deepti. Deepti, we are not able to hear you.
I don't think she can hear us.
Yeah. Deepti,
Mamta,
we are not able to hear any.
Sign language
there. Trying. Okay, I think we'll, Neerja, if you could let Deepti know that she's having a challenge with her audio, maybe we can come to you, Nari, with the next question. And we'll come back to Deepti once her audio is back. Okay, Nari, according to you, what are the top 2 inhibitors in terms of women reaching CXO roles in organizations? And what can organizations do to address these?
Yeah, absolutely, Mamta. Unfortunately, Deepti, I think, is continuing to talk, hopefully she realizes. But coming back to the question, in my mind, I think the biggest inhibitor in the industry, which we see today, and these things have changed over the years. I mean, 2 decades back, 20 years back, it was women getting into technology, which was a challenge. But today, to me, the biggest issue we have on hand is about too many women getting out of the career, so many women choosing not to pursue a career because, of course, they're probably well-to-do, otherwise they can manage the family stable or the family needs support. To me, capable women, talented women with very rich experience choosing to walk out of the industry or the job per se is the biggest impediment. And that is something where both the organizations and the societies and the families and friends can do a lot. I think today we have to let's stop believing that it's actually a choice for women to continue to work. I think whichever is the chosen career, I think all of them are capable today. They can be productive. And for a society like ours, we need to make sure that we are able to let women continue for a long time and be in the careers. So women getting out of the careers to me is the biggest impediment. While all of us talk about women in leadership, to me the biggest problem is the mid-level is where we are losing a significant number of people. And when you lose so many people, obviously the pipeline into leadership is going to be smaller and we run into issues. So to me, that mid-level is what we need to focus on. And once we address it, I think we'll automatically get there. The second impediment which I want to talk about, Mamta, is this whole notion about what is meritocracy and this, I think both you and I think Shailaja alluded to this aversion to quotas. But I'm a believer that I think we have to start looking at this whole notion of meritocracy slightly differently. We have to bring in the element of the context or the career drafts or the support systems available to different classes of people in an organization and combine it with merit. Just looking at merit in isolation, I think is making a mistake. I think also a lot of us are trained to always look for the best solution in a context. So when you're filling a leadership position and when you have 3 candidates, most often we are trying to ask the question, who is the best among the 3? And with our notion of trying to identify the best thing, and also remember a lot of the decision-making parameters are defined by men for the most part. So we tend to pick those attributes which make men stand out superior to women. And automatically, anytime you're trying to pick one out of a list of 3 or 4, you find that the woman is in the bottom half of that list based on the criteria which men have otherwise defined. The way I would look at going ahead, how we can all fill in leadership positions, is to actually request or even demand quota system, which both of you hate so much, that certain percentage of positions have to be given to women. But of course, remember, it has to be for people who are good enough. They don't necessarily have to be the best for a position. If they're capable of playing a role, I think we should be able to give it to them. It is never a shortage of capable women which have a problem. It's this whole pursuit of, I want the best solution to a problem, I want the best candidate out of 10, which is causing us a problem. If you say how many of them are good enough, you will say 4 of them are good enough. If 4 are good enough, then you should be able to pick 2 men and 2 women out there. It's as simple as that. You don't have to necessarily look at the top 4, which most often, because the ranks are made by men, end up being men. And that's how women are losing out in leadership positions, whether within the organization or outside the organization. So to me, the whole notion of meritocracy in isolation and the whole dropping of women out of careers, I think are the 2 biggest impediments in the journey. But I also want to make this last point, Mamta, that we should recognize that a lot has changed in the society and industry. Of course, we are impatient. It has to change for the better even more. But the fact that today we can proudly talk about at entry level, we almost have 50-50 men and women, I think is a fantastic achievement. The societies, the industry, the universities can take a lot of credit for it. But of course, now we have to get onto the next journey where we make it 50-50 at all levels. But I think we have to recognize the progress made. I mean, as a data point, when I was pursuing engineering and when I got into my career, there were less than 1 or 2% girls in an engineering college or in a career at that point in time. Today, it's already become 50-50 in 3 decades. So hopefully, we'll see similar changes in leadership, but we have to make it happen sooner. We can't wait for another 3 decades.
Thank you, Nari. I think a nuanced, slightly different approach to meritocracy. Very, very interesting thoughts. Deepti, do we have you back?
Yes, I'm sorry. I think I had some issues with the connectivity, Murphy's Law.
So we heard you a bit, but maybe I think the same question to you, right? What does diversity and inclusion look like in the workplace?
Yes, I don't know till what point you heard, but basically what I was trying to say is diversity is not just about gender. It is a combination of very unique skills people get, the experiences, the perspectives, culture background, education background, nationality, physical, cognitive ability, as well as language. And you know, a lot of times the organization are focusing more on just data and numbers and saying that we need to get these many number of women or these many PWD people or these many veterans. I think that's so wrong. It's about creating the right culture where people feel respected, people feel valued, people feel trusted and connected and informed. And I think that for me means inclusion. In fact, as we speak, I was reading one book which said that diversity is about inviting a woman to a dance, and inclusion is about asking her to dance. And I really felt it was something I found quite different, but quite interesting, because a lot of time we are only focusing on the numbers, not on really creating a culture where people would feel that this is really a diverse organization. And from our perspective, especially from Amazon's perspective, if I had to say, Amazon is committed to providing a safe and respectful environment to everyone who comes from a very diverse background.
Thank you, Deepti. I'm very tempted to ask the questions that are coming in, you know, from the audience. Shailja, maybe one specifically to you. Thought I saw that interesting question. Where did it go? Yes, and I think relates to what Nari mentioned around the pipeline, right? The challenges with mid-level pipeline. That's where is probably, I wouldn't say root cause, but that's something that needs to be addressed if we really need to look at diversity at the senior level. So the question, I think, is from Kanti. Shailja, if you mind taking this. How do you address the mid-level stagnation for women? How can they push themselves to a leading role?
I think that's a great question, and it's an issue that I think all organizations are facing. One, in my view, is to have a very robust mentoring program and career development program for mid-level women executives. Why do we say that? See, I look at the whole ecosystem in which a mid-level women leader is functioning, right? Typically, the lady will also have a lot of responsibilities on the personal front as well, right? Which demand time. I think the few things that we are noticing, it is either care of young children or care for sick, relatives. It could be in-laws, it could be parents. Typically, the mid-level executives are kind of dealing with this. And in those situations, more often than not, the burden of caregiving falls on the women more than the men, right? Some men obviously take the leap, and I think it's an emotional, burden for the entire family. But the caregiving support, just as we have seen in the pandemic, right? The responsibility of running a house, taking care of a hyperactive kid at home has fallen more on the women relatively in more cases than, and less so on the men. So in this situation, what happens is certain life decisions are taken collectively, either as a family or sometimes the decision gets imposed. So to me, there are various things. So one is having a coaching, mentoring kind of a support so that, women can actually talk about what they're dealing with. Giving some form of a flexible working options, especially for some who are facing, so that they don't have to necessarily take a complete break from the career, but they're able to kind of juggle the career and the personal commitments, which they have to fulfill in such a way that the career is not a break, but they can actually maintain that. A third one also is, I think few things we need to look at when we look at job descriptions, and most companies, in fact, we are looking at it as well. How can we make the job description gender neutral, right? How can we make an application process where we necessarily don't have to look at, the name of the individual, but instead let's look at the merit of that individual. I think there's a Harvard study which actually did that. And when the names are taken off and when the people who are reviewing the CVs are looking at CVs without realizing it's a male or a female, the selection of females goes up. Right? So there is that degree of bias. Third is, of course, to run this unconscious bias over and over again. I mean, you'd be surprised, all of us obviously are diversity champions in our own right, but inherently there is an element of bias. So how can we kind of reiterate to kind of take that out of bias? And most importantly, for the woman to kind of give that support network that, hey, these are your mentors, these are your sponsors, these are some of the projects which would actually help you do something different. And I also kind of want to bring this out that I'm sure, having looked back at 25 years, there are times when I have, walked with respect to my career. There are times when I have done a bit of a jog, and there are times when I have been on a full-on sprint with my career. Now that is defined by multiple factors around me, right? The requirements on my personal front, and it's my ability to kind of dictate the pace of my career is what has helped me kind of do things. I think that flexibility, whether from location, whether from the hours, whether the pace at which the women chooses to work, I think that is important, because once their focus moves away from that personal commitment, they are kind of very focused on the career. A few examples, right? We already spoke about elder care. I always find that, you know, women who have their kids in very mission critical years, right? 10th, 12th, these are really milestone years in terms of education, especially in India, right? So the mothers tend to focus a lot more, but once the kid kind of tides over that, the mother suddenly a little bit more free to kind of come back and, give that extra focus onto career and start, running at a very good speed. So I think it's understanding that, giving that flexibility to me as organizations is very important. And last but not the least, I think for women, my advice would be have a very clear focus. Where do you see yourself 5 years down the line? What are the roles that interest you? I find that often we chase a grade as against we chasing a role, right? I don't think it should be about grade. It's about role. Would you want to be in operations? Would you want to be in sales? Would you want to be in HR? Are you going to be an L&D person? Do you love audit? Are you in marketing? Having that very clear goal in terms of where they see themselves, and that could be again done by the mentors and coaches. I think that helps them have like a multi-year development plan, and organization should help kind of move them around to kind of give that wider exposure, which would really promote. So it's a lot of investment from us in the organization. Like in Cognizant, we have a leadership program for frontline managers, which we run. And it's got a great feedback, but it's a follow through of that. And I'm sure all organizations do that. I think those are some of my thoughts, Mamta.
Brilliant. Thank you, Shailaja. I think I really like the statement, ability to dictate pace of one's career. Right. Deepti, if I can come back to you, Nari spoke about, a couple of inhibitors that women maybe have at the workplace, especially in a leadership role. Looking at your own career and your own journey, what are the top 2 challenges that you faced in your career as a woman, if you have, and then how did you address it?
Sure. I think, Mamta, the first and the most important one is my own thinking. A lot of time, I would doubt myself, or even when I had an opportunity, I would say, no, I'm not fully ready. Or I would be self-critical about saying, will I be able to do that? What would the family be able to, will the family be able to support themselves if I take this up? So I think the biggest one, if I had to look at my own career, was my thinking and my ability to, come out of that noise and just make the decision. And the second one, which was the big one for me, was having an ecosystem around me, both at the organization and at home, that can, provide the kind of support that I was looking for. A mother or a daughter can never feel comfortable if they know that the child is not comfortable or the parent is not comfortable. You do need that ecosystem to make sure that the system is all okay. And at organization, when you are trying to take this risk, trying to do something new, you want someone who's watching your back and telling that it's fine. Even if you fail, this is the price you're paying to learn something new. And I thought that during my different stages in life, I felt that, there were people who supported me. In fact, I've had very good mentors who prompted me during those times to tell me that go take the plunge and things will happen for itself. For all the women who are looking, I must tell you that it is important to speak up. In fact, I was reading an article which said that if you are over 40, you should have a mentor who's below 20. And if you're below 20, you should have a mentor over 40, because that helps you to, keep your child alive in you and help you to make the right decision.
Brilliant. Thanks, Deepti. Self-critical, fear of failure, but I love the reverse mentoring bit. So Nari, coming back to you as a male leader, I'm sure you've mentored many women, right? And Deepti spoke about these important aspects of being self-critical, maybe setting higher standards, than probably what men do. And this is this general fear of failure and the fear of, do I have the ecosystem to support me to kind of move forward in my career? So what did you see as kind of these issues and challenges, the doubts or fears, with women when they, especially when they apply for leadership roles?
No, absolutely. I think great points by Shailaja and Deepti so far, and bring a lot of insights. So first is, I think I kind of agree with this notion that women are probably trying to be too perfect before they seek any leadership role. They are very self-critical of themselves. And unless they check all 10 boxes out of 10, they probably are not raising their hand and asking for it. In fact, at this time, I also want to refer all the participants to my favorite video on this topic. There is this video, TED video by Lady Reshma Saujani, which talks about how, as society, we teach our men to be courageous, our boys to be courageous, but our girls to be perfect. And that is making a huge difference. So boys are trained from childhood to take their risk, and it's okay to fail. Whereas girls are always taught to be perfect, and that puts that whole expectation in their head. And very often, when I see the successful women in all aspects of life, they're not trying to be perfect in all aspects of their life. They're quite chilled if they're not very good in, like Shailaja said, she doesn't know to cook. And they're quite happy with that situation. They don't feel guilty about it. They don't think that's a drawback. They can't be the best role model housewife. In fact, probably as most of you know, Manish has spoke about how she may not be arranging the puja set in the best possible manner, like maybe some of the other women are able to do, right? So trying to be perfect, I think, is what is an impediment for women. So they should take their risk and raise their hand even if they get 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 of the requirements right. And as a professional, I have seen that whenever I have taken a risk in my career, this paid off. Of course, few times I might have failed, but net over a 3-decade career, it is those risks I've taken at various points in time which have helped me. And I think women have to learn to take the risk. The second point I also want to really bring out to all the women who are there as part of the discussion today is please recognize that the world is changing, the society is changing, the industry is changing. Today, corporations are thirsting for women to rise and do well. Trust me on this. A lot of us, some of the questions you see are towards a negative thing in terms of their thinking. Please take away all those negative thoughts. I think today you'll find organizations support if you as a woman leader want to learn and grow. You should do your part of seeking out. If you need advice, if you need a mentor, go seek whoever you think can be the best mentor for you. It can be a male leader or a female leader. If you don't have a woman leader in your organization, seek out for some of the women leaders in the industry or in the society. My experience is 9 out of 10, if you seek out somebody for guidance and mentoring, I think they will help you. But don't wait for somebody to get a mentor to your doorstep and say, now here is the guy who is going to mentor you. I think that's a false expectation. Recognize that today, I can tell you with all honesty that in our organization, we are desperately looking for capable women to take on more senior roles. And part of my job I do is scan within the organization outside where I can find them. And today, many companies are doing that. And you should understand that the so-called impediments, of course, there are few impediments which still exist in organizations in terms of culture, in terms of policies. But then you can rest assured, many people are working to change all of that. You can be part of the change. Don't sit outside the box. Understand that things are changing. And you can definitely aspire to take those leadership roles. And many people will help you along the way. And you should take the charge. Take the risk, raise your hand, and I'm sure you will succeed.
Nari, if I may just...
Sorry, Deepti.
I was just saying, Nari, if I just add that sometimes we are saying capable women get the role. I was very wanting to just add that sometimes even if women are not capable, I think it is the responsibility of the organization to make them capable. But we do need to take chances with all, and that is all that I.
No, and in fact, I want to also make this last point. I think I've seen a lot of women who don't like this positions which are created only for women or quotas for women. I think that's a mistake. All of you need to accept if some preferential treatment is given to you. It is injustice which has been done over a number of years, number of decades, which is getting corrected. And for us to make a big change, some of these harsh measures have to be taken. But nothing will come your way when you don't deserve it. That is for sure, even in the quotas.
Absolutely.
So if being a female today in the industry helps you, by all means embrace it. You should not shy away from it. Because I think women have taken a lot of hits already. They continue to take the hits. High time they get a little bit of a help along the way.
Thank you, Nari, Deepti, and Shailaja. I wish the conversation can go on. It's just so engaging and thought-provoking. We're just conscious of time. Thank you so much for your thoughts. There's just several questions that are there. Maybe this is something that Haisya can take back and seek responses from you. But just to summarize, I think when we say women in leadership, it's a balance that we are talking about. Because I did see some questions in the chat as well. It's not exclusion of men. I think it's building a mindset beyond policies, beyond quotas. And for me personally, somebody who's very privileged to lead the Haisya Women Leader Forum, I think it's bridging the gender gap. It's a constant journey. This is not something that's going to happen overnight. We need to create an environment that is inclusive and balanced, and that's the workforce that we are looking at. But the ultimate goal, really, a few years down the road, is reaching a point where this is not even a topic for discussion. We don't want a women leaders forum. It has to become BAU. And that is something we all, I think, have the responsibility as leaders in the industry to collectively work to succeed in this journey. Thank you very much for joining. It's just been an excellent conversation. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Mamta. And thank you, Shailaja and Deepti.
Thank you.
Neeraja, back to you.
Thank you, Mamta. Thank you, Nari, Deepti, and Shailaja. And Mamta said it rightly. It was a very thought-provoking discussion. And you can see the chat window, the number of questions that you people have got. I hope we will be able to answer them offline sometime. I think the Honorable Governor is going to join us soon. We'll wait for her to switch on her video. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
Neeraja, madam.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Yeah, please proceed, madam. Honorable Governor is here. Please proceed.
Thank you. We will. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you? And thank you for being with us here today.
Yes.
Oh. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine.
Welcome and thank you for joining us.
Yeah. I'm also very happy to join with you.
Thank you. Oh, Bharni? Hello?
Yes.
Bharni, would you like to talk?
Yes. Respected Chief Guest, Dr. Srimati Tamilisai Soundararajan, Honorable Governor of Telangana, Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, and my executive and managing committee members of Haisya, Women Leaders Forum leader, Mamata Madi Reddy, leaders from the IT industry, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. A very good afternoon to all of you. It gives me great pleasure inviting you all to this historic event of the launch of Haisya Women Leaders Forum. My sincere thanks to the Honorable Governor for accepting our invite and gracing the occasion today. When I met her and explained about the purpose of this forum recently, she was very appreciative of this initiative and readily accepted to be amongst us and support the initiative. Again, many thanks to you, madam, and your kind presence today. And it means a lot to us and for this forum and Haisya in a whole. As you all may be aware that Haisya is a 29-year-old organization. We're going to be completing 30 years.
Bharni, sorry to interrupt you. Since ma'am is here, we will play the national anthem and post that we will invite you to for your speech.
Yes, please.
I request all the participants to please stand up for rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you. Please be seated. Dhani, request you to continue the address.
Thank you, Neerija. Thank you, madam. And as you're all aware that HYSIA is a 29-year-old organization with more than 300 member companies covering 90% of the IT industry in Hyderabad. Our focus areas are fostering innovation ecosystem, nurturing competencies, skill development, promoting SME growth, enhancing infrastructure, supporting emerging corridors and facilitating CSR programs, and thus creating an environment conducive to the growth of IT industry in Hyderabad. Hyderabad IT industry has been championing the diversity and inclusivity in their employee base for the years and to promote equal employment opportunity and, more importantly, greater gender equality. While we can proudly claim that the percentage of women employees at the entry-level induction is about 40% to close to 45%, but as we go up the organization later, it is less than 7%. Apparently, this issue is not limited to our city or our country, but globally. The World Economic Forum says that at the current rate of change, it will take 108 years to close the overall gender gap and 202 years to bring parity in the workplace. Despite numerous efforts to empower women and ensure that they take up more leadership positions, the global representation of women in such leadership positions is relatively low. Women account for just 4% of the CEOs in the world's top 500 more prominent corporations. A smaller percentage occupies the heads of government at the national level. They also occupy a minor portion of foreign leadership posts in the world presently. Let us appreciate the fact that though women have begun to make their claims for leadership in the organizations, but often encounter a workplace culture comprising of impediments and challenges that makes the progression difficult. As men and women grow and continue their education, they have equal ambitions to pursue a successful professional career with roughly equally levels of achievement. Though some studies suggest that women do slightly better. As they move into their work careers, however, there is a common perception that, based on some facts basically, that women are generally paid less for similar work, do not ascend to the highest levels of leadership, and often lose their ambition and opt out. There is no simple reason for this and no simple solution as well. The loss of so many capable women from the higher levels of our workforce takes a toll on the organization, especially as we seek leaders who are capable of navigating organizations through high levels of change and uncertainty. Another practical challenge, particularly in India, is the competing demands women feel to succeed in work while raising children and managing their household, with or without the help of a spouse. The lack of female mentors at the workplace and the difficulty in finding support for this role balancing added to the distress of the women she coached. And if they acknowledged or shared the stress, their male colleagues would ask them why they were trying to do this instead of just stepping back and focusing on family. Lack of proper female gender representation in leadership roles hinders good advancement in all fields. As a result, there's a pressing need for fostering female leadership. HYSIA envisions that with more women in position of leadership, the workplace may become not just a better place to work, but also one that is more adaptive and productive. We can only learn if this is true if we work to develop it. Beyond discussions, ICA want to do something concrete on the ground to help women leaders. Given that IT industry is a knowledge industry and one committed to inclusivity and gender equality, ICA leadership has focused and created interventions to improve opportunities for women to move into leadership positions within the industry. The result of this thought process has been an exclusive women-focused leadership development workshop launched in 2009, a brainchild of our past president, Nari, who is also in today's panel discussion. This inclusive program tries to bridge the wide gap between the number of women in the workforce and those in senior positions, and sensitizes them and widens the business horizon to take up challenges in senior roles. The content of this course has been tailored to suit the specific needs of the women workforce and helps them experience the leadership potential. While education is the primary focus in training sessions, and experiential learning is attempted in most workshops. The uniqueness of this leadership workshop lies in exposure that it provides to participants. These sessions also reinforce the fact that there are many shades of gray and nothing can absolutely be right or wrong. At the end of the workshop, participants realize that there's no formula for leadership. The only common thing between leaders is that they're all different. Hyderabad IT industry is unique in many ways to promote gender equality. We have multiple forums working towards women empowerment. Example, Cyberabad Security Council, Rachakonda Security Council, and Hyderabad City Security Council, which are collaborative organizations between police and public to foster safety and security of women covering all parts of the city. Initiatives like She Shuttle, Margadashak, women's safety awareness programs, etc., have made a significant and positive impact to the city. I take pride in stating that I was actively involved in many of these programs that from the concept to implementation stage. ICA endeavors to continue our mission to promote gender equality in the leadership positions. As the progressive next step, we decided to create a forum specifically to address this agenda, resulting in creating the Women Leaders Forum today, with an able leader, Mamata, leading this initiative, supported by another accomplished leader, Manisha, our treasurer, and also another leader, Shailaja Joshua, center head of Cognizant, and others. ICA Women Leaders Forum will consist of accomplished women leaders and also men leaders from across the industry who will provide not only thought leadership, but mentorship to young and upcoming women leaders of the ITS industry. The forum will also serve as an important networking platform for women leaders. We will work towards identifying the challenges, develop programs and initiatives for the women leaders to effectively manage them, creating mentoring and counseling platforms, set quantifiable targets to create leaders at different levels and continuously improve these numbers over a period of time. This is a mission and will continue for years to come. I'm sure you'll all agree that with me all that our Honorable Governor is the most appropriate person to launch this forum, given her credentials, her hard work and dedication in her journey progressing to her current position as the first citizen of Telangana and Puducherry. Madam, I know you had so many commitments as a part of your responsibilities in 2 states, and we can't thank you enough for accommodating your busy schedule to participate in this event. I know you're in Chennai today, but in spite of it, you're able to take time and just join this particular event. Thank you very much for that. Our sincere gratitude to you. Here is my message to the aspiring women leaders by quoting late Kalpana Chawla, the first woman of Indian origin to go to space. Quote, "The path from dreams to success does exist. The path from dreams to success does exist. May you have the vision to find it, the courage to get on it, and the perseverance to follow it. May God bless you all, and Jai Hind." Thank you.
Thank you, Bharani. You're inspiring as always. May I now request our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Tamilisai Soundararajan, Governor of Telangana and Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, to formally launch HYSIA Women Leaders Forum.
Congratulations. Hereby, I launch the HYSIA Women Leaders Forum.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for formally inaugurating the HYSIA Women Leaders Forum. May I now request Ms. Mamta Madhureddy to please introduce our honorable chief guest.
Thank you, Neeraj. And it's indeed an honor to introduce our chief guest for today, Dr. Srimati Tamilisai Soundararajan, who took charge as Governor of Telangana on 8 September 2019 and happens to be the first woman to hold this office. She has a remarkable public and social service background spanning over 20 years. In her illustrious political career in the last 2 decades, she has successfully led the state unit of a political party with noteworthy accomplishments. Dr. Srimati Tamilisai Soundararajan started her career as a medical practitioner after completing her MBBS PG in gynecology, DGO, and has a special training on ultrasound and fetal therapy from Toronto, Canada. She worked as an assistant professor, Department of Gynecology at Sri Ramachandra Medical College, Chennai for 7 years and resigned in 2003 for full-time political engagements. She nurtures great devotion towards public service and enhancement of living standards of common people with focus on health and education as a prime agenda. Dr. Tamilisai Soundararajan was presented with the Top 20 Global Women of Excellence Award for 2020, an award instituted by the US Congressional Multi-Advisory Task Force led by Congressman Danny K. Davis, representative of Illinois' 7th Congressional District. Ms. Soundararajan was chosen to be honored for being an ardent advocate of women's rights, gender parity, women empowerment, and women equality, apart from making a difference to the society through her efforts. Her fight to protect women's rights and for gender equality began even when she was in the medical college. She also put in efforts for improving the lives of tribals during her stint in public service. Ma'am, we are honored to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Mamta. May I now request our chief guest, Dr. Srimati Tamilisai Soundararajan, Honorable Governor of Telangana and Honorable Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, to please address the gathering.
Very special good evening to each and everyone. Mr. Bharani Kumar Arol, President ICA, Ms. Mamta, Center Director HSBC and ICA Women Leaders Forum, Mr. Narasimha Rao, Vice President Infosys Limited, Ms. Manisha Sabu, AVP and Development Center Head, Hyderabad, Infosys Limited, Mr. Sri Srinivasa Rao, Chief Operating Officer, HYSIA, distinguished panelists, speakers, and guests, esteemed participants, and all others. I wish you all a very good evening. I hope and wish that you are all doing well in these challenging times. I'm really delighted to be a part of this event to launch the HYSIA Women Leaders Forum. This is the timely and right step by the HYSIA. I'm sure the Women Leaders Forum will promote and encourage women leadership. I believe that this forum will enable the women leaders to contribute their knowledge, vision, and leadership for the benefit of HYSIA. The women leadership is also immensely beneficial to the society in general. Women are born leaders. Mother is the first leader in our life and family. As the mother, women shows great leadership skills in nurturing and protecting the child. Women are natural leaders. Women leaders are highly compassionate. Compassion is the strength of women leaders. We need to have women in forefront of leadership in different sectors. Though the glass ceiling is being broken in many fields, still we have a long way to go in realizing our goal of gender equality. Women leaders and aspiring leaders must be proactive to promote gender equality in their respective fields. In this context, I appreciate and congratulate the HYSIA for taking this initiative to launch the Women Leaders Forum. Information technology is knowledge-based industry. IT sector is where women are in good numbers. IT sector need to initiate some aggressive steps to promote diversity and inclusiveness in leadership assignments. I appreciate your efforts in ensuring diversity and representation of women in boardrooms. I feel it is my bond duty to ask you to promote the role of women in senior management positions and decision making at all levels. I hope this newly launched platform of HYSIA Women Leaders Forum might initiate some concrete steps in this direction. I'm really happy to find many eminent women taking the lead in IT sector. In McSney Global Institute's report 2020 on gender equality pointed out that if we promote gender equality, results in the growth of the GDP by $13 trillion by 2030. Promoting gender equality will be galvanize the global and Indian economies. It is time that the policy makers and the business leaders launch some decisive steps in promoting gender equality in economy and all other sectors. Better gender equality is nothing but greater benefits to our society. Gender balanced leadership is need of the hour for better future of the society. I am happy to learn that Women Leaders Forum also includes men as well. There must be the representation of all stakeholders from conceptualization to decision making, implementation, and evaluation at every level. Mentorship and coaching are key enablers of an accelerated growth for young and aspiring leaders in the industry. Today, we have several successful and respected women leaders across the industry, yet women find it harder to find mentors, especially one with influence. We need more and more successful women leaders to step up into mentoring roles and nurture the next generation leaders. Women leaders may need perhaps two enablers in this regard: a suitable platform to share and due respect and recognition that can motivate them to share and grow. I hope that HYSIA Women Leaders Forum could provide these to help the budding talent. I am sure that the forum could also promote networking and open avenues that would be very difficult otherwise. I appeal to you all that industry-wide attempt to promote equal opportunity and gender equality. I wish the individual organizations also make a sincere effort in promoting diversity and inclusion. From my personal experience, I tell you that the qualities like grit, determination, and tenacity in pursuing our passion are crucial to realize our dreams and aspirations. You must have uncompromising attitude towards the equality and fighting for our rights wherever we are. Overcoming criticism and clearing hurdles of oppression in our path are very important to groom young leaders, especially the women in any organization. Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi ji is always emphasizing on the role of women entrepreneurs. I quote Honorable PMO, who said that women are playing a leading role in India's quest to become Atmanirbhar. Let us commit to encouraging entrepreneurship among women. I buy products that celebrate women enterprises, creativity, India's culture, and Nari Shakti. The government will work towards furthering to women empowerment across a wide range of sectors. I am very glad to say that our Honorable Prime Minister's two pet schemes to support entrepreneurship and self-employment are Stand Up India and Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. These two schemes have women as the biggest beneficiaries. Under the Stand Up India scheme, a massive 81% of the account holders are women. The government is galvanizing the women entrepreneurship through its gender responsive policies. These steps are vital as the women entrepreneurs constitute less than 20% of the total entrepreneurs in our country. The women's participation is also around 18% in labor force. It is also estimated that women contribute around 20% to our GDP. These are the areas where we need to make some serious progress to improve the participation of women in enterprises and run the business on their own, especially the big businesses by women is need of the hour. It is time for the industry and organizations like ICIA, FICCI Ladies Organization and others to promote women leadership at every level through proactive policies. I extend my hearty congratulations to all at the ICIA for taking this initiative to start the Women Leaders Forum. I hope your efforts will bring in some tangible results in gender equality, in information technology sector, and help young women to get right mentoring and guidance to build their career. I wish the women leaders to make a mark of their own and transform the industry to help the country achieve better social and economic results. I wish a great success to the Women Leaders Forum. I hope this kind of initiatives will be replicated in other sectors also to promote gender equality and women leadership in every sector. Jai Hind, Jai Telangana.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your enlightening talk. You have personally set benchmarks for women to look up to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much once again. May I now request Manisha Sabu, Treasurer, HYSIA, and AVP Infosys Limited, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Neeraja. At the outset, I want to challenge all those who say we don't see too many women in leadership layer. Actually, when I look around me, I see many women who are CEO, CFO, and CEO of institution called home. They're balancing multiple responsibilities and delivering outcomes every day, day after day. What it means is that women are born leaders, and we need to give them opportunities to demonstrate their skills on the wider landscape and encourage them to think big. And launch of HYSIA Women Leaders Forum is right step towards this. First of all, I would like to thank Honorable Governor Dr. Tamilisai for gracing the occasion. Madam, you were our first and only choice for launching the forum. And we were so happy, so elated when you said yes. Right start is job half done. And thanks to Nari, Mamata, Shailaja, Dipti for thought-provoking panel discussion. Flood of questions from participants proved that how interesting the panel discussion was. And if we had a badge of honor for men helping women in leadership, Nari would have got it. The event was meticulously planned and executed by Neeraja and Srini, and I have to thank them for all the preparation and attention to detail. As the cliche goes, there is a woman behind every successful man. Here, we have one man behind many successful women coming together in HYSIA Women Leaders Forum. Thank you, Bharni Aral, President of HYSIA. It is his vision which has resulted in this forum. Now that we launched the forum, let's join hands to make it strong with right participation, that is your active participation, and meaningful by creating right interventions. As Madam said, I would also like to see the HYSIA Women Leaders Forum to bring women leaders in Hyderabad together and give them a lightweight networking platform. Create an ecosystem where we help each other to emerge stronger together. As Sheryl Sandberg, COO of Facebook, said, the more women help each other, the more we help ourselves. Acting like a coalition truly does produce results. Thank you, and all the best.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you so much. I'll request all the participants to please rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जन गण मन जन
Mani, you're on mute.
Yes, I think Honorable Governor has left the session. So, yeah, we'll close.
Yes, we can.
Thanks, everyone. Wonderful panel discussion, Amita and everybody. And great success. Wish you all great success. Let's just work together to make it a very, very impactful forum. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Looking forward to the active participation from everybody. Thank you so much. This is just the beginning.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you,
Congratulations on a wonderful launch to HiSCR.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
A wonderful launch. Yeah.
Congratulations.
You can end the meeting, I think.
Okay, do we leave?
Yeah.